It's the doggy.
Doggy?
It's the doggy.
Come here.
No, he's in the fence. He's in the goat fence. Yeah. Alright guys, Joe here with Feral Woodcraft. Not a proper video today, I guess, but I was talking to a buddy of mine about ridgelines a few days ago. Told him I would share with him what I do. I'm honestly a little bit surprised that more don't do it this way, but you know, that's not to say in arrogance that it's the best way. Buddy, we're going to go this way, okay?
That way?
Yeah, we're going to where Daddy slept the other night.
That way?
That way.
For fire?
No, we're not going to have a fire. We're going to take the tarp down.
Hot down?
Yeah.
Hot down?
Take the tarp down, that's right. Anyway, that's not to be said in arrogance as if it's, you know, my way is the best way, but I don't know. I honestly think it's pretty good. It is a big hole, isn't it, buddy?
I'll go in here.
We're not going to go in the big hole. But anyway, we were talking about ridge lines and how they're stretched and stuff. And anyway, this is my solution, which I can't take credit for. I learned it off of Bushcraft USA in Bush Class Basic, or a guy named Terry who goes by IA Woodsman on YouTube. A great channel. I highly recommend it. You learn a lot. But anyway, this is where I slept the other night. No, I won't get into the whys of it. But anyway, let me get set up here with the proper camera, and we'll go through it. Hi! Alright guys, this is the corner of, or one side of my ridge line. I don't know how well you can make it out, and we'll get close-ups later. Hey bud, what you doing? Are you messing with my camera? Anyway, it's a loop on one side and just straight up line on the other. It's braided cord, 3 strands of paracord braided together. After it's broke in, it basically doesn't really stretch at all. And guys, this is the other side. It's just like I said, it's just a end of a line basically, tied with a taut line, so it's adjustable. And let's get this tarp down and we'll get you the close-ups. Hold on. And here's a fairly well close-up of the loop end. It's just a braided loop into the paracord braid, and it just allows for easy, simple wrapping around a tree or a post or whatever you want to tie off to on one side. And then let's go over to the other side and get a close-up of the taut line. And there's a close-up of the taut line. We pretty much all know how to make them. It's a fairly simple knot. One of my favorites actually, because it's tight and it doesn't back off, but yet it allows for easy adjustion on the fly. And one thing I like about this is that when you got your tarp over your ridge line and you're in it, you can just reach up and tighten it to your heart's content if you need to. Anyway, back to the ridge line here as I take care of my son. What I like about it is that once it's broke in, like I said before, it doesn't stretch. At least not much. Simple break-in procedure after it's done is simply just get it wet and put it up and just smoke it down tight. Let it sit in the sun for a few days and it dries out. Isn't that right? You helped me do that a couple weeks ago, didn't you? Yeah. Anyway, get it soaking wet, tied up, smoke it down real tight, and let it dry out in the sun for a few weeks, or a few days, excuse me. And it may take 1 or 2 times of that. Honestly, I typically just break them in during application when I'm using the ridge line, but other people advise different methods. But anyway, like I was saying, simple paracord braid, 3 strand, nothing complex. It takes a little bit of time. And what's the big deal about it stretching? Well, you know, one of the quickest ways to ruin an overnight or a camping trip is to have a sag, and when it's raining, you know, it's going to allow moisture or rain to gather along the rope and come in, and at the deep point or the dip point, you know, that water's going to drip down onto you or your equipment or, you know, whatever is underneath the tarp, and that's just not cool. I mean, that's one of the quickest ways to ruin one of my nights of sleep. So I like the fact that it doesn't really stretch, it doesn't give those low spots, and you know, it's just another thing that adds to the toolbox of having a good night's sleep out in the woods. So I'm going to take this down and get you even more close-ups of it. And you can see how simple this is. Just undo the top line and pull the rest of it through the loop, and you're golden, man. Goes up in a cinch, comes back down in a cinch. And as you can see, I hope this is in the shot here. It's just a loop braided in, sealed off with more paracord. With the end, I've melted more wrapped paracord around it to keep it tight and keep it from frying off. And the other end is basically the same way. It's just a loose end with paracord wrapped and melted around it. And anyway, let's finish up breaking camp and we'll get back and he can play in his sandbox. And I'll show you how to make one of these. Isn't that right? Really? You look like you're sneaking something over there, buddy. Alright guys, let's finish this up. I'm making a loop for my pack, so it's not as long as a Ridgeline. It's the same principle. Ridgeline's just about 20 feet longer. Now, one thing, most of you probably aren't novices here as far as working with paracord. Most are veterans, but one suggestion to folks is to melt the ends of the paracord before you start working with it, or you'll end up with a headache later. So, and I know those who know me are going, what in the world? Joe's using a Zippo. Well, I got a video coming on that. My mind has been changed. You're going to do your braid. Start on. Your nucky's right here, bud, and your nine-nine's in your room. Alright. Start with, you need to decide how big you want your loop to be on the one end, the braided loop. I'm going to want it about yay long, so right where you pinch it, just put yourself a quick knot. You'll undo that later. And do your best to keep things even. You'll always end up with a longer cord or two.
We got none.
You go, buddy. Yeah. Uh-huh. Alright. And you just start braiding. The outsides just alternate and skip over the one in the middle. As you can see, it goes on pretty quick, but when you're working with 20, 30, I've even made one 45 feet before it can be a time-consuming process. Alright, once you're about halfway, bring it down and match up one of the upper ones with one of the lower ones below the knot. But you'll need to undo your knot at this point. Okay, once we've undone our knot, match up one of the upper ones with one of the lower ones. And they usually line up pretty good, so it's pretty obvious. Alright. And then it takes a little bit of practice to get your hands used to it. Just start braiding and you'll run into a situation kind of like this. There we go. Where the natural braid doesn't want to go the way it makes sense. Like I said, it takes a wee bit of practice to get your hands or your fingers used to keeping track of everything that you need to keep track of. And then once you run out of cord of the upper ones, you just move on with the lower ones. And every once in a while, when things get all tangled up like they are right here, just pick one and pull it through, and usually it will untangle the entire lot. And don't worry about these loose ends right here from these upper ones, because we'll tie those down and melt them in later. Just keep on going, alternating outside, each side of flipping over the inside strand. About every 5 or 6 braids, untangle. And you can easily get a 40-foot ridgeline done in about an hour, hour and a half. Honestly, the time-consuming part of that is just untangling them. Alright, now we're finishing up. And as you run out of excess, it gets a lot quicker and easier. Alright, let's get something to tie this off with. Be right back. Alright, what I tied off with is just outer paracord. And so strip it out. And I do save the inner strands for other projects. Alright. That's just how I do it. I'm sure there's a ton of other ways to do it. But I just wrap the end, make a loop, start up at the double end, and wrap it around itself. Trying to keep it somewhat even. When you're about out of the end you're wrapping around, take the loop that you made, put it through, go back to the other side, pull that loop down tight. Yep, we're going to keep it. Trim off the excess, guys. Pardon my little party crasher here. Now, typically I do this outside, but it's 15 degrees and my son's content, so. And then melt that end. And it melts to itself, so you don't have to worry about it coming off. Hey bud, watch out. Stand over here. And once it's melted to itself, stay back, it's hot, buddy. Heat up the whole strands, and what it does is it starts to melt them together, and it constricts. They tighten up, so you don't have to worry about them coming loose. And this is stinky, so like I said, usually do this outside. Do the exact same thing to this side. What you doing, bud? Are you being silly? And like I said before, just melt the ends. Kind of make sure that they, as it melts, it bonds to one of the other cords around it so it won't come loose. And then just heat up the wrapping. It'll constrict and tighten up. It'll also melt together and melt to the straps underneath. And it's not coming off of there. And like I said before, as this video is coming to an end, I can't take credit for this idea at all. I got this from Bush Class USA from, Bush Class USA from bushcraftusa.com. The forum there, they have some excellent classes and tutorials. I highly suggest you guys check it out, and specifically I got this idea from IA Woodsman from YouTube, who puts on most of the courses there. So like I said, check it out and join the class, and hopefully we can learn together. Trim the ends up. melt the ends. Hopefully all this is in frame. Pretty self-explanatory if it's not, though. Alright, we'll put it on. Hang on. Just seal the ends in, and you're good. Anyway, so what you end up is something like this. It's not real. Anyway, this is going to be a strap for my pack. Ridgeline's the same exact concept, except for obviously a lot bigger. But what I love about it, just wrap it around what you want to wrap it around, shove that through, and there you go. You ratchet it down tight. You have one end already tied. So anyway, to the guy I was talking to the other day about Ridgelines and their stretchiness, I hope you have found this helpful. I hope this video has turned out all in the frame. And thanks for watching, guys, and look forward to the next time.